Endless magical nights. Italy is champion of Europe of volley. Vaccine, deaths and conflicts of interest. Alberto Contri burst out on TV. The judge stops the layoffs at GCAN. The 42 law reforms that Italy must approve in 100 days to receive European funds. Welcome to Italy Today newscast. After the women's title of volley, did Georgia's boys also triumph? Slovenia was beaten 3-2 in the final. We are now European champions for the 7th time. The summary in the report.
Men's Italy follows the example of female colleagues of a fortnight ago and wins the European title. It is number 7 in 11 finals. Yet another triumph of the sport azzurro of a magical summer now engraved in our history. Italy beat Slovenia 3-2 with great effort and climbed to the top step of an international podium after the Olympic disappointment in Tokyo, eliminated in the quarter-finals by Argentina. We are the youngest team in the tournament, 24 years on average and 9 rookies in this competition, and therefore we have a long future of satisfaction ahead of us. Which after the games we put it in the hands of the new coach Ferdinando De Giorgi. He also honors Slovenia, the small country of sporting miracles, between basketball and cycling, which in volleyball had also won a silver 2 years ago and is now coached by the Italian Alberto Giuliani. We haven't made it to the final of a European Championship since 2013 and we haven't won it since 2005. But this success comes after a handicapped start. We give up the first set 22-25, only the 4th defeat in the whole tournament, and there perhaps our arms begin to tremble a bit. It's up to De Giorgi to be heard during a timeout. Courage, what are those sad faces? You are playing a final, said the coach to his players. It would be enough to bring back the very recent memory of the victory against Slovenia. In the group, we had beaten it 3-0. In the second set, the music changes and we manage to win it for 25-20 with the wall on the decisive point of penalty. In the third we are still in trouble, always forced to chase, until we return to a tie on 20-20. But that's our last point of the set, 25-20 Slovenia. In the fourth, we find the spirit of the reaction and we manage to take advantage that we keep to the end and close for 25-20 in 29 minutes, with which we secure the tiebreak. Romano and Micheletto lead us. In the decisive set we go under 0-3 immediately, and then draw 3-3. But we score important points and go to 11-7, a precious advantage. Lavia makes 12-8. Ginelli's dunk gives us the 14-9. And the success comes from a mistake by Slovenia. We are European champions. An encore, together with the girls, historic.
Professor Alberto Contri on the national TV not only attacks the obligation of COVID certification to work, but also all the communication on the virus. Our report.
Alberto Contri's inveighs against the Green Pass but also against many truths taken for granted on COVID and vaccine freezes the Agora program on TV. The teacher of social communication, for years president of the Fondazione Pubblicità Progress, will be a guest in connection with Luisilla Costamagna on the Rai 3 program on Monday 20th of September. He takes the floor after Professor Massimo Galli and the uproar breaks out. Contri not only attacks the provision of the obligation of green certification to work, as the host predicted, but he points the finger at all the communication inherent to the virus for 2 years now, starting from the fact that almost all of the dead, says the teacher, had other pathologies. We talk about vaccines and these are not vaccines. Why not ask guests why Novavax is slowed down while Pfizer and the others have accelerated processes for approvals, attacks Contri. People are afraid of these vaccines, not the vaccine in general. The professor is unstoppable. The reasons put forward by the government for the restrictions are laughable. Every day there are 250 deaths from smoking, and what do? The deaths of COVID are laughable, misunderstands the presenter. At this point, I have to ask someone to intervene. But Contri does not stop. Let whoever you want to intervene. I hear apodictic statements without scientific basis, the guest replies and the spirits heat up. Contri is well aware of being surrounded. I'm not crazy and I'm not throwing away a 50-year reputation, but now it's time for everyone, especially clinicians, to say if they have any conflicts of interest with pharmaceutical companies. At this point, Costamagna, who does not hide her embarrassment, asks Professor Massimo Galli, awaiting retirement but not from TV, to intervene. These are positions that almost do not deserve to be refuted, attacks the professor of the Sacco Hospital of Milan, those like you do serious damage. You have not seen the dead, attacks Galli. But there are the Istat data, replies Contri. In Italy, the clash over data also arrives on television, after having been the protagonist of the squares, also thanks to the conferences organized by many groups of doctors in the Senate, to bring other points of view to the attention of the public. A summit with world-renowned doctors has just ended to talk about home care which, according to these international experts, would reduce the many to almost zero.
The Florence Employment Tribunal has revoked the collective redundancies for the GKN industries. The judges agreed with the unions. The situation in our report.
The Florence Employment Tribunal has revoked the collective redundancies for the GKN of Campi Bisenzio. The judges agreed with the trade unions, who had challenged the proceeding against the 422 employees dismissed by the group, which for the court violated Article 28 of the Workers' Statute, implementing anti-union behavior. The workers were informed that they had lost their jobs in an email. The latest from the courthouses, this morning 20th of September, arrives at the opening of a hot week on the front of the Campi Bisenzio company. The dispute has been going on since before the summer, since the ownership of the company, which belongs to the British Melrose Fund, announced the closure of the Campi plant and the transfer abroad of its activities, sending an email announcing the employees have been dismissed since September. The factory was occupied, manned by workers, and has become the symbol of the war on relocation, with the start of the process for regulatory innovation. The confrontation at ministry should restart in the next few hours. And the layoffs should have started on 22nd of September. On Saturday in Florence, 25,000 people marched to demonstrate against the GKN and for the reform of labor rules, wearing blue t-shirts and holding up the large banner with the words "Rise Up. We are all GKN" is the slogan calling for a stop to layoffs in the Campi Bisenzio factory. Present at the parade were the workers of the Whirlpool of Naples with the banner "Napoli does not give up," the RSU of Piaggio di Pontedera, the workers of Sanic of Massa and those of the textile district of Prato. The General Secretary of CIL Union, Maurizio Landini, intervened in the dispute, saying that multinational corporations, as in the case of GKN, have not only disappeared but are preventing other activities from obtaining and realizing their own business continuity. This happens in particular in the automotive components sector, not only following the birth of Stellantis but because the products in that sector are radically changing. Landini recalled the expected ruling of the Florence Employment Tribunal on the appeal for anti-union behavior, for how the company has moved outside the law, while the Deputy Minister of Mies Alessandra Tatti reiterated that it is a difficult situation, with a company that has lost its social responsibility, but we must be concrete because when we talk about 422 workers we are talking about 422 families. Banners called for a general strike, as did the numerous choirs. At present, said Francesca Reed David, General Secretary of FIAM Union who was in Florence, we reject the request that the company makes for layoffs for termination, financial dictated by a fund. Reed David also called into question the government. It must not face industrial crises like this. The demonstration headed to Piazzale Michelangelo. On the way, he was met by the applause of passers-by and also by numerous citizens looking out of the windows. There are no large companies, said Romano Prodi, speaking of relocations during an event in Bologna. It is necessary to have a policy aimed at the future of work. I am worried about this. Company size weighs heavily. I do not see a structure destined to do this. Since we don't have any big business, we don't have anyone to take part in the decision-making tables. About 10 people decide on investments in cars. We don't have anyone, Romano Prodi concluded.
In 3 months, Italy must approve 42 law reforms to have access to the European Recovery Fund. The report for Italy today.
The political control room for the implementation of the National Recovery and Resilience Plan could meet already this week for the first time. Insiders call it PNRR, almost everyone else calls it recovery. Yet in the national media, that project of 191.5 billion European funds and 528 preconditions has almost disappeared, as if the big part was negotiating the agreement in Brussels and getting the 500 pages of the initial project approved. The deadlines of 2021, that in these days the first meeting is being prepared, led by Prime Minister Mario Draghi, with the Minister of Economy Daniele Franco, those of Ecological Transition and Technological Innovation Roberto Cingolani and Vittorio Colau and perhaps others, demonstrates which of course is not the case. In order to submit the first report and thus receive the substantial payments for the first part of 2022, in just over 3 months Italy still has to meet 42 of the 51 conditions set for this year. It is a wide range of measures, largely regulatory, which includes delicate parliamentary steps for the reform of justice, a controversial review of active labour policies, an important framework law on disabilities and a university reform. Topics on which, outside the government rooms, almost no one in the country is questioning. In addition, there will be the tax delegation law that Palazzo Chigi hopes to approve this week. The next few months will be non-stop. Giorgio Musso of the Observatory on Italian Public Accounts, author of the best summary of the agenda for the coming months, estimates that the 42 conditions to be presented in Brussels within 100 days are almost double the average number per quarter foreseen by the recovery from 2022 onwards. Only some of the 42 are simple or bureaucratic measures. Among other things, it should be noted that Brussels has recalled in recent months a past detail, also unnoticed in Italy. Tackling a reform on a certain issue may not be enough, if some of the relevant elements agreed with the EU Commission are missing from the provision. Brussels could avoid endorsing the semester reporting, preventing the subsequent request for funds. Therefore, the review would only take place after another 6 months, with the risk of generating substantial delays. Therefore, the organisation of work in the government will count, and it will be decisive to prevent conflicts of competences between the many coordination centres of the plan.
That's it for today. Thanks for joining us. We invite you to subscribe to the Facebook page and follow us again.